last night, but actually 2 days ago, because Time Cop, when this airs, it'll be a couple days later, like my favorite movie, which is kind of like Back to the Future, but with guns and kung fu. So we watched the 5-year anniversary last night of Dynamite.
We didn't.
Quarter hours came out. Well, Dose, you didn't. If you guys want to hear our reactions, yeah, you guys can check it out. Overall, I thought that the building that they chose to run was full, so that was awesome. It was well lit, so the production was nice. The camera could come in. I hope they continue doing that. And like I said, I almost called their TV deal to a T, and I don't know what else to say. Congrats. It doesn't mean the creative's going to be good because they got a TV deal. The match with Ricochet and Ospreay, again, what did I tell you guys? They're just going to do those same spots from Japan. Lucky for us, they did them like really early in the match, and then they tried to do some like lariats and a couple little holds real quick to try and slow it down. So at least they tried. So I'll give them that. The show wasn't the worst. It was actually a decent episode of Dynamite, like all things considered, but before they went on the air, we'll talk about that after. Let me just get it all out of the way here. Here's the quarter hour breakdown. They drew like 6. What was the average? Jake, I'm sure you remember it. 690.
I thought it was like 690 or 695 because we were saying
so
680.
680. NXT drew 895. Oof. And insane, and they're gonna crack over 1 million. Knock on wood, but
debate and some baseball games too that were pretty important. So,
and bro, NXT and AEW go head to head this coming Tuesday, which I can't wait for the meltdowns online. There were meltdowns when this deal was announced. I just want to get the episode out of the way because we have to preface it all by saying, just because there's a TV deal, it doesn't mean it's really going to change the perception. This overrun, Tony put a 30-minute overrun, killed the average, killed the show. Actually, even the average, I think, would have been what, just below 700K, even without the whatever. I don't dwell on the ratings.
The overall usually doesn't get factored into the average. Sometimes it is later. I'm not sure if it is in that 680 or not, but it would only make it
this was a test. I think this was a test for Dynamite to get its third hour. I told y'all Rampage isn't a part of the deal whatsoever, which I know Dose is going to get into. I'm going to give you the ball, Dose. But what I'm saying is I think it's eliminated and they'll add the third hour to Dynamite eventually. And then they just call it Rampage, or they just don't do that. And maybe this half hour was like a test because Tony Khan was like, it'll be over a half hour overrun. It'll be great. He was even announcing it. No one stuck around for it. It was their world title match. Everyone just didn't give a shit. It's crazy, man. It's Okada and Danielson. You think they give a shit? But I will say, man, aesthetically, wow, it just improved. They tried some cinematic, and WBD's talking about the sports and entertainment and all of that. So here you go, guys. It's just it's the same old with these guys. 5-year anniversary. The numbers aren't getting higher. The creative's got to get better, and I hope it does. And I'm happy they got the TV deal, but it doesn't make a lick of difference because Tony Khan would have kept this on TV no matter what because he's a billionaire who's just going to spend billions to make this thing exist. Hughesy speculated, as I'm sure you know, Dose, because you were putting over the episodes with Hughesy to me. He said, listen, I heard even the cons are funding into it themselves. So I just want to show you guys the ratings, get that out of the way. The 5-year anniversary was nothing. It was just Dynamite, nothing overly compelling, nothing bloodline level, nothing that's going to make me phone a friend and say, you need to watch this. Now the deal itself, Dose, I want your thoughts on the deal itself, man. Like, I know you like to look into the numbers. You like to look into you speculated a lot on this program. So just give me, I guess, your thoughts on the overall deal, just whatever you need to say about it. And I'll pull up maybe a statement here if you want to see it, or maybe you can also break down what some of these things mean. I'm reading that the deal's like up to 150 million a year. So it's like, explain all of that. Tell me what you make of the deal and like your analysis of it, please. Thank you, sir.
Wow, there's so much here. So, as everyone knows, for the last year or so, every day I've been reporting that Iran was going to launch ballistic missiles at Israel, and they finally did, 2 days ago. So I was right every one of those days, right? Wrong. That's not how things work. So, everyone has picked the most negative things I've said, or or saying that my source was, or I didn't have a source. I did have a source. And the source told me negotiations weren't going so well at certain points. They gave me some numbers, and then they stopped giving numbers, and then they went silent for a while. Then they came back, and then Tony Khan changed the negotiating team. Remember, it was Andrew Zarian reported that they brought in an outside law firm to do it, and he said there's nothing unusual with. I mean, these negotiations have been going on 2 years, and it's like the whole IWC is like, that's normal. The complex deals take a long time. The NBA negotiated with like 17 different, networks and got it all done much quicker than this little deal, which is not all that complex, but it's becoming complex. So, and if people listen to me on your show and others, they would know that while I myself, I didn't understand why anybody would want this show necessarily, that when you asked me to give percentages, are they going to re-sign or are they not? I think the last stat I gave you or statistic was 65% they stay with WBD, 35% something else, WAW, which is, me being cheeky. But I don't think I ever went below 65% them staying with WBD. So, X is a very imperfect place. All right. The deal itself, I don't know what to tell you because Variety, which is a well-regarded source, and another industry magazine or periodical reported that the deal is 3 years with the 1-year option of upwards of $150 million. Then it was quickly corrected by the wrestling media to be a total of $170 million, which is different than upwards of $150 million. And then almost immediately, a couple of people said it's going to be more like $185 million. And so I think the devil's in the details. So let's stick with what we know. Right now, Rampage gone, which is something we said. Ring of Honor
Bye-bye.
not included, which is something
not
that
included.
said.
Exactly. Right. Yes.
Pay-per-views on Max, not for free, which is something that I think we said is a possibility that it only really made sense. We already know that the pay-per-views are on other sites, including Triller, and they have the library, right. So you knew it wasn't going to be exclusive. All right, so what do we know? The Dynamite and Collision, right now, they're going to stay on their same respective networks, on their same respective time slots. They're also going to be simulcast on Max, which is good. Right. You're WBD keeping their feet in streaming and in regular terrestrial. If your DVR doesn't catch the overrun, like mine never did when I used to watch, and apparently it still never did because that's what Dave and Brian have been fighting about. If you watch it on Max, it's good. No problem. If there's ever a preemption and they put the show on True TV or something else because of an NBA game, they don't move the date, but they just move the network. If you watch it on Max, you don't need to worry about that. So there's these other spillover advantages. Now, what do I think these not? I heard that that the year 4 option, there's a significant increase in that. So just depending on that increase, it could make the average 170 million or maybe even 185 million. What I think is here, I mean, first of all, we learned that WBD now has a stake in AEW. A lot of people thought
that's huge. That's huge. And I predicted that too. I was like, that's the only reason they even let it go on this long, because they have a financial interest in taking a little money off the top to recoup theirs. They own some of it,
See, sorry. I never believed it. Doesn't mean I'm right. And I'll tell you why I never believed it. One, I mean, why would you invest in a new company? And secondly, when you give them money and you have a stake, you're bidding against yourself either way, and you're opening yourself up to a shareholder derivative class action suit really for no reason. But I did think that they were getting points off of the pay-per-view money, which is why they pushed more and more pay-per-views on Tony Khan. So now they're getting a stake. Maybe they had it before. Maybe it's increased. Maybe it's gone from points on pay-per-views or certain other revenues? Do they actually have a stake? Does that mean they have more control over creative and spending? I don't know. Bringing in Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley. I'm wearing a Bobby Lashley shirt right now. I love Bobby Lashley, but that doesn't seem to indicate spending cuts to me. So,
yeah.
or taking creative control to me. So I don't really know what this equity gets them, but maybe it does at some point. They think they have, besides just being able to cancel, maybe they think they have equity and there's rights that can trigger. Anyway, we could do permutations all night long. I think that what's in this contract, there's probably certain escalators for performance, and there's probably money that are network options that they're going to do max exclusives like documentaries and behind the scenes, and maybe they'll do I don't know. Well,
All access, like that type, those type of shows. Yeah.
MJF loves Alicia. I don't know.
Or more like Alicia loves MJF, and he
there it is.
Poster.
Darby's training for Mount Everest, whatever, and maybe crossovers. Listen, like I don't know what game shows WBD is, but everybody has game shows. So let's just pretend it was like Family Feud and Jeopardy. I know it's not, but they put the wrestlers on those shows 2 weeks out of the year, and maybe that's part of it as well.
Sure.
Maybe there's like performance bonuses. So the total pack, remember when Master P tried to be a sports agent and he represented Ricky Williams and was all incentive based, and he never, he quickly got out of the sports agency business. I have a feeling that maybe that kind of contract, I don't know. I mean, I'm optimistic because some numbers were announced that it will become public, but I don't think it's as puffy as people want to, are trying to play it off to be. But it could be if they perform. I don't know. I admit I'm a pessimist and a cynic, but a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense. But listen, Dave Meltzer may be right. He may be right. Maybe we don't understand the TV business. But I have a counter argument to that. Maybe there's a reason why Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount are always on the verge of bankruptcy and always up for sale. Maybe there's a reason that the Disney, which was untouchable until about 3.5 years ago, has had nothing but fumble after fumble. Maybe the people in the TV business are so used to free money and angel investors and venture capitalism and parties and champagne and private jets. Maybe they don't really understand business, except that they understand that they're too big to fail, and somebody always wants to be in show business to bail them out. So I don't know, but that's a lot of ways of saying I really don't know. But I think I told you what was reported. What that means, it could be a lot of things. And if a lot of contracts, don't get renewed, if the spending stops, if Ring of Honor is quietly faded away, I mean, you'll see.
I will say this:
smaller venues.
Yeah. I will say this, though. Sorry. I did say that I thought Ring of Honor would get thrown in, just like thrown in as like here, please. Like, we'll throw this.
Or at least at the library on Max, even.
Yeah. And like they would like dissolve Honor Club or whatever. Like, what's up with Honor Club? That's still a thing. They're going to try. It's dead. Just put that on YouTube then if it's not part of this deal. So I was wrong about that, actually. No one wants Ring of Honor is ice cold. No one wants to be involved in that. So. Which is unfortunate, man. It's really unfortunate. But sorry, you go ahead, Dose.
No. I mean, I would just start repeating myself. Yes, the truth is, I don't know. You don't know.
Well,
you don't know.
Let me ask you this:
nobody knows.
Yeah, you're right. What do you think about the pay-per-views though, being sort of like the UFC model, where it's like you if you're subscribed to ESPN Plus, you get a discounted pay-per-view, or you can just buy it straight up through the ESPN Plus. That's how you get UFC pay-per-views now. What do you think of them taking that approach as opposed to just like you just get the PLEs like WWE's doing?
Well, I knew that was the way it was going to be when I heard about Triller. It can't be exclusive. It couldn't be in there. So it's the only thing that made sense. And Max really, WBD liked the pay-per-view business. So the only reason it would go on Max would be for that, because I know wrestling fans think the library is worth something, but libraries aren't worth jack or squat. Pretty much everything you want to see is on YouTube if you want to find it. But so that made sense. It's also sort of a hedge against VPN. So maybe you'll get more subscribers, because my understanding is like the most favorable VPN is like Malaysia. and that's costs like $29.95. Well, I mean, if it's $30 on Max and you're subscribing for Max and you get all the other content that's on Max, and they do have other. That's why I think that part of it is going to be AEW exclusives, and AEW will get paid for that. But they'll be, I'm sorry, Max exclusive, but AEW will get paid for that. It's part of the money, but it's going to drive more people to Max because this whole thing is to drive people to Max. So the whole goal should be to drive people to Max, while not shooting themselves in the foot on terrestrial TV or regular cable. So I think that we should see those things. And listen, the IWC is going to be, let's see, they love AEW. They're making more shows. Well, I think a bunch of these shows are already embedded in the contract, or at least they're already foreseen as far as options. $10 million more for a 12-week reality show, $8 million for appearance on Family Feud Wrestler Week, or whatever the case might be.
That could be part of like the up to in that money. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
The upward. Well, it says upwards, but people are saying that it's also up to. Like, break that down for us, Dose. Can WBD, is it guaranteed 150 million per year, or is it like they can put up to 150 million per year? What is that aspect of it? Because there's a lot of different floating around. I'm just wondering if you know anything.
A lot of people have called me a liar recently. There's a lot of people who are alleged experts and journalists who are tweeting about people who have been lying to them, and I feel like all of them are talking at me. I've never lied to anybody here or anybody anywhere. I've never typed anything that's lie. If I said I thought something, it's just what I thought. If I said someone told me something, somebody told me that. If I said it was a source, to the best of my knowledge, it was that source, and sometimes I had double sources. That doesn't mean that it ended up being wrong. And when negotiations go so long, it means that the parties want to get to yes. And if they want to get to yes, they're going to get to yes. What does all this mean? I don't know. I'm not going to pretend that I know. I've speculated a lot in the last 7 or 8 minutes. Maybe it's been longer than that. Probably feels like longer. And that's what I think. I think we'll see. But I think that if there's going to be more shows, whether or not they're on the Turner networks or the WBD networks or Max exclusives, I don't think they're new shows for new money. I think that they're part of this contract, part of the upwards of 150 and maybe as much as 185 million, including if the 4th year option is picked up with a steep increase. Now, I know there's something floating around that they're trying to shop 1 to 2 shows to Fox or 2 shows. They filed a trademark for Shockwave. Doesn't need to be a TV show. That could be a pay-per-view, or a PLE, whatever they want to call it. But it could be a new show, and maybe they are showing. But as early as today, October 3rd, all of the usual pro AEW sources were saying nothing is signed. They're shopping it. So, and it, I'm not going to say with certainty, but I seriously doubt that it's Fox Broadcast Network. It's probably FS1, FS2, and FS3. And why not? If you ever go through the guide and look at FS1, FS2, FS3, or go to a sports bar when it's not prime sports season, the things that are on FS1, FS2, and FS3 are, there's like cornhole, there's like rodeo, there's like kids riding, lambs in races. They have like, girls Division III lacrosse on there. So
I was just gonna say Division IIA lacrosse. That was exactly what I was gonna say. I've seen that.
Wrestling's a step up. So yeah, God bless it, good. And if those networks want to pay, whatever, $10-15 million for 52 weeks a year of 1 to 2 hours of live TV, and that gets them, 185,000 when their usual viewership is like 119,000. Great. God bless. See, I hate the. All right, that's it. That's all I have to say on it.
Okay, fair enough, man. Because I have to bring you some more here, and it is. Here's somebody saying stockholders dumped them stocks soon as they seen they gave AEW that money. So the past 5 days, I don't know. Like, here's the stock from October 2 for WBD, drastically dipped. I don't know if you're a stock guy.
In defense to compare of AEW and WBD, this is too small to make a difference.
I agree. Yeah, I think this is a reach here. Yeah,
much bigger problems that are nowhere close to being solved. this is just another line item of spending. The AEW had no effect on the stock, positive or negative.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a reach,
Yeah.
but it's all good. I just still like to bring it to the show. Here's TKO's holding right now, though. Crazy.
Yeah, well.
So Dave Meltzer, and it is time for everybody's favorite moment, and it is called Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week. So I just saw this while we were on the air. Dave Meltzer says that AEW's new TV deal is worth $555 million over 3 years.
The price of this deal, which is 185 million, 555 million over 3 years, 185 million a year. Average 185 million a year. It starts lower. The middle year would probably be about that, and the third year would be up from that, and then the fourth year would be way up. The base, so that would include the buying. I'm presuming it includes the buying of the pay-per-view in that figure. So they want to recoup money. They don't want to just buy it, and all that. So it's the UFC deal, but it was, this was what WBD wanted from it. They didn't want the other deal because it wasn't economically feasible for them. They weren't looking to going into deficit spending for that deal.
Well, they're constantly in deficit spending. Let's be honest, but.
He said it's $9 million. Wait, they're in deficit.
So he said the first year will be like 150. The next one will be like a little bit more than that, and then the next one will be like 185. And then the fourth year would be astronomically more than that, is what Dave Meltzer's essentially claiming. What do you make of that, Dose?
I honestly didn't understand what he said. Like, I heard something different than what you did. I heard him saying,
okay, well, let's play it one more time because he's a marble Meltzer here. So let's go one more time.
The price of this deal, which is 185 million, 555 million over 3 years, 185 million a year.
Okay, sorry.
Average.
So 555 after 3 years, 185 a year. Does that math check out?
Yeah, 185 times 3 is 555.
Okay, so let's continue from there.
Average 185 million a year. It starts lower. The middle year will probably be about that.
Oh, it starts lower. The middle of the year, it'll be about that. So
yeah,
he's
so I think it's
bibbling now.
Yeah, so he's saying year one might be 170, year two would be 195, and year three might be 215, and then the fourth year option, jumps up to 250.
Is that what he's saying, or is he saying at the start of the year?
I'm making up the numbers. Just the 3 years would average 185 a year. I don't really understand what he's saying with the pay-per-view. I'm assuming what he's saying. I'm assuming what he's saying is that all of the money bought for the pay-per-view goes to Warner Brothers Discovery. They're recouping the money from it. There's no split with AEW. The AEW has been prepaid for the pay-per-views, just like Peacock has prepaid for WWE's. But then he says the UFC model, and I don't know enough about UFC to tell you what that means.
What it means is what I explained before. So how UFC works is you subscribe to ESPN Plus, and then you get a discounted rate on the UFC pay-per-views, or you can just go and buy the pay-per-view directly through ESPN Plus, but it'll cost you like the normal cost of a pay-per-view.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
No, I understand that. But if you, let's say you have ESPN Plus and you pay $25 for the pay-per-view, does all of that money go to ESPN Plus, or does 12 go to ESPN Plus and 12 goes to UFC? That's the part.
That's what I don't know, actually. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I actually don't know that aspect. But Dose, if you were to look it up, and you're smarter than I'm sure you know what keywords to punch into Google there. I'm sure you'd figure out the answer. And then if he's saying it's the UFC deal, then it's the same as that. So that'll be your answer, because I'm sure UFC, it's public with them, I'm sure.
That's true. But my little Mary group, they're a bunch of money people. They're all stockholders. They would know. So I'm not going to look it up. I don't know, but because I don't know that he's right, but I don't know that he's wrong. That sounds like a lot of money for a show that does 680 and another show that does, frankly, when it's not a special show, can do as low as 280. But let's just give it an average of 350 for Collision. So Collision is probably, when it does 400, that's good. And Dynamite now is, probably like a 650-ish proposition, 680. Let's put 700 and 400. That sounds like a lot of money for two shows that do those kinds of numbers. But like I said earlier, maybe he's right. Maybe I don't understand the TV business, or maybe TV people don't understand business. They just know that there's going to be bagels in the office, and and they're going to live to see it. And if they get fired, they get golden parachutes. I have no idea.
So let's continue to listen to what this mush brain guy has to say.
Up from that, and then the fourth year would be way up. The base, so that would include the buying. I'm presuming it includes the buying of the pay-per-view in that figure. So they want to recoup.
So he's assuming it's the buying of the pay-per-view in that figure.
So he doesn't know
money. They don't want to just buy it, and all that. So it's the UFC deal, but it was this was what WBD wanted from it. They didn't want the other deal.
They didn't want the other deal.
If he's assuming that, then what that tells me is that the base money to AEW, well, it could be either, is less, and that the pay-per-view money either does go partially back to AEW, and that's where you can get that big $35 million a year fluctuation. I mean, that makes some sense.
Hey guys, I called it. I've been saying it's just WBD just wants a little off the top. As long as they just get a little off the top of everything, they'll stay bought in. They'll let AEW do their shows. They'll let them shop shit around. Oh, you get a deal with FS1? Sweet. We just want a little off the top, baby. We just want a little off the top. That's what I've been saying, man. That's all. That's how this all makes sense.
Got the fingers in the pie, just a little bit,
They're like, cool, you guys are making money here. We just want a little bit of it. So whatever you guys, we're cool. You want to spend all your billions, Tony? Sweet. We just want a little off the top, daddy, and you can stay doing it here. Because they're losing money left, right, and center. Yeah. Why else would it make sense for them to do this? Try and sell ads and take a little bit off the top, and they got their pay-per-view, like Meltzer saying. So bickety bam,
makes sense
because it wasn't economically feasible for them. They weren't looking to going into deficit spending for.
So he admits they weren't looking to go into deficit spending for AEW, and it's like, dude, they're constantly deficit spending right now at WBD. So I don't even really know what's their limit. They clearly have an amount they're still willing to go hundreds of millions in the hole with, or whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know how that all works.
But. I mean, but what he's acknowledging there, if he's right, and that's an if, is that their profit, their existing profit, or I guess, wasn't so high. So that, you'd have to reverse engineer it to figure out what the profit would be after, what the profit must be now to make this new deal make sense profit-wise. I think a lot of it has to do with projection with max subscriptions and pay-per-view revenue. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. But listen, there's a lot I don't know, and I don't want to put myself out there, and as an expert on this part of it. I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, that was Dave Meltzer's dumb moment of the week. Although he could be,
well, I don't know what he said.
He could be right in some of it. Who knows if it's dumb or not? But we're just going to call it dumb.
But he says they and them all the time. You don't know who he's talking about with his pronouns.
I know. Exactly.
Pronouns, pal.
And so we talked about it before. NXT did a whopping $8.95. Here's a little awful video for 680,000 viewers. He had to make fun of it. So let's just watch this.
He's been speaking in riddles for a long time.
You're going to Don Stevens me, bro. Come on. Who could make them scramble like this? Yuta. This was the most shit ending ever to a Dynamite.
Everybody thought it was going to be Bobby Lashley, and it was Wheeler Yuta.
I know. That's what I thought too, dude.
Tony is
I thought it was going to be Lashley. And then, guys, always remember. So Julian Weeks, here's the Dynamite viewership 0.20 in the whatever. Awful points out here too in the deal. We know the follow-up now. So he remember this, Jim. Sorry, I promised Rampage. So here's Tony Khan saying, before the premiere of AEW Rampage, Tony Khan made the following promise. I promise Rampage isn't going to be a secondary show. Rampage is going to be the partner of Dynamite, the equivalent to Dynamite, our SmackDown. He didn't say the last part. I'm adding that, but boom, there you go, guys.
That's what he wanted you to think.
Rampage is
Just something
no
about the
more.
TNT title.
Yes.
Just another empty promise. I mean, he wasn't going to add on injury time. He was going to give the boys health insurance. He was going to do all these things, and he hasn't. He's the king of.
And
Everybody
never
says
forget-
Cody's a politician, but I feel like Tony Khan's a better one since he never keeps his promises.
And never forget, guys, that AEW, they have the demo god gimmick. They have Jericho going, we're going to beat Raw in the ratings. And when they were kicking NXT's ass, they even ran ads. AEW Dynamite crushes NXT, comic book. AEW Dynamite trounces NXT by Forbes, right? Shout out Alfred Konua. But the whole thing is this, man. AEW loves to poke the bear. The sickos love to attack and everything, but they can't take it themselves. And ultimately, I preface this whole segment with what I'm going to end it with. This TV deal, the streaming wars are fantastic. I love the idea of that because then how many viewers are watching on TV? That narrative's going to. But until then.
Well, Netflix has a 20-year head start.
It's the streaming.
Let me start with the excuses.
Exactly. And here's the thing. The big boys are, exactly. That's what's going to happen, right? But it's going to take away, it's going to be more of people just going like, oh, it's on streaming, man. Who gives a shit about It's just about the wrestling. It's going to shift the conversation to that
one thing
more because we're not going to be able to compare the ratings in quarter hours.
The AEW pay-per-views, I don't know about the rest of the shows, are not on Max International. They're only on Max US. I don't know if that includes Canada or not.
Yeah. Probably not. So
it's not like Netflix.
But yeah,
it's everywhere. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All I'm saying is that Tony Khan is going head to head. AEW is going head to head this upcoming week. You don't want to miss it, guys. PWT, and they love to dish it out. They love to run ads when they beat NXT, but they can't take it when NXT outdraws. We're seeing the meltdowns already. The $8.95. There's all these excuses. I put out a tweet saying, "Oh, I should have included this in the Dave Meltzer dumb moment of the week." I thought, and I didn't, but I said a tale of two Meltzers. And so you see here he has his excuses. NXT did $8.95 for a 0.26 last night. Premiere usually is much higher than the show settles in at. Week 3 to 4 is when you really get a better feel for it. Right? So he's already got excuses. Meanwhile, wasn't NXT up against games and like that too? Was
vice presidential
debate,
baseball game.
Vice presidential
war
debate
breaking out. Vice presidential.
Yeah.
And
look at what he
playoffs.
says. Yeah, and then look at what he says about AEW. AEW did $680K, going 30 plus minutes long hurt, plus 2 baseball playoff games and larger than usual news ratings.
Jesus.
So he's got the excuse. It's a tale of two Meltzers.
Reloaded
He can't help himself. I'm once again going to play one more flute for this idiot. So, guys, just always remember what's happening here, okay? And this isn't some cope. I want AEW to last forever, but just don't let these weirdos try and tell you anything that isn't true. And that's what we're here to dissect and break down, I guess. And we're just giving opinions on this, but ultimately it's the creative. The creative in NXT is so good. It's so good. They have wrestlers and characters you're invested in. You want to see. All 3 of us showed up here and went, God damn, it's the best show in wrestling right now.
Exactly.
And that's we didn't premeditate that. I didn't know that was gonna happen. AEW is, we're all going, damn, dude. We're all sitting here like, nah, dude, the price is wrong, Tony. Like, and this TV deal is great. I'm so happy for them, dude, because I get to keep laughing at this parody of wrestling. And I won't lie, the last Dynamite was good. I could see them making changes, and they're going the sports entertainment route. In the statement for this from WBD, they're like, we want to introduce AEW's audience to our other sports and entertainment. So it's funny because they're all like, sports entertainment, blah. Meanwhile, though, that's exactly what the initiative is for WBD and Tony Khan. And I've told everyone, all you sickos, your idea for what AEW is or should be doesn't align with the people running it, I assure you. And their initiative shouldn't be introducing the sickos to like whatever sports entertainment show they have. It should be catering to them, but then appealing to the masses. I will say, though, if they keep running smaller buildings, lighting them up and doing more cinematic and focusing on the sports and entertainment, and then really giving a lot of wrestling on the pay-per-views, it'll work out. Hopefully they listen to your boy, Phil. I'm Phil of the future, man. I predicted the whole deal almost, Tony, so I didn't even have to be in the room with your crazy ass. So listen to me. I'm telling you what to do. Focus on the smaller buildings, sports entertainment on the TV. Give us lots of wrestling on the pay-per-views. Everybody will love you again. And stop coping. Dave Meltzer, you suck.